Hello, my name is Glenn Schlender. I'm the superintendent of the Luxembourg-Casco School District, and this is a presentation about our upcoming referendum scheduled for April 3rd. There will be more info available to people in addition to this presentation, both on our website, mailed to district residents. There'll be plenty of public presentations, as well as flyers available at local businesses and so forth, and you can always call me and my office at 845-2391, extension 103. This is the referendum presentation for the referendum that is scheduled for this April 3rd. We always start district presentations with our district mission and vision, and our vision is to prepare students to thrive in a global community by ensuring excellence in intellect and virtue. Our mission is to inspire minds, challenge students, and promote excellence. We are Spartans. So in terms of an agenda, I'd like to cover several things with you. First, some progress stating going back to May of 2015 and bringing us up to the present. And then the district vision is the work that's been done thus far with regard to the referendum planning. And then next, I'd like to share a bit about the partnership that we were able to establish that's connected to the referendum, and then finally some district taxpayer impact. So in terms of a progress update, in 2015, the district engaged with the community in a large-scale way, essentially to listen to what their hopes and dreams were for the district, and they spoke loudly and clearly about that and gave us a whole list of things that they wanted to see happen. And that list was prioritized, and the number one thing by far that jumped out was a long-range strategic facilities plan that included some options for the middle school should we move those middle school kids to Luxembourg. And so that has been a primary focus for me as the superintendent, as well as others in the district since that time. We've worked on many of the other things that they wanted to see happen, and some of those are included in this plan, but I want to talk about that for a bit. So one of the first things we did was to take advantage of something in the law that allowed us to use energy savings from upgrading facilities and equipment to pay for those upgrades. The law changed in 2011 and allowed us to do that in a significant way, and without going into lots of detail about that, we were able to do $8.5 million worth of upgrades to the district's facilities at virtually no cost to taxpayers, a very minimal cost to taxpayers, most of which was covered by those energy savings. The district partnership is with Belen Health, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. These referenda needs are to address athletic and educational adequacy, which is something that we couldn't do with the energy services work. So moving forward, last summer, we made a number of those energy-related upgrades to the district. You can see on your screen some kitchen upgrades to the intermediate school. That building is over 40 years old, and these upgrades were greatly needed. In the middle, larger picture, are some upgrades to the cafeteria at the high school. And then on the far right is the high school tech ed area, and we put in some ventilation for the welding booths. In addition, you probably are aware that the parking lot at the athletic complex is brand new, and we did that because we could do that right away without having to worry about any future construction, in other words, with the referendum. The middle picture is an upgraded roof at the high school. We were experiencing leaks, and so that was very needed. And then some water quality, that's a water softening system, I think, at the intermediate school. That's been in place as well. So in terms of getting those things taken care of through the energy services work, that's been done and will be finished this summer. But there are certain things that we can't get done through energy savings, and that's where question one comes in. Clearly, we've had a need for a new high school gymnasium for a long, long time. That you can see is first on the list. Also, as identified by the community, we need to update our high school tech ed spaces, particularly the equipment, and as well as the family and consumer science space. That's what FACS stands for, otherwise known as home ec. Those classrooms and equipment need to be updated tremendously. There's also a push for move the high school main office from the middle of the building where it currently is to the exterior so that we can create what's called a secure main entrance. As if you've paid attention to the news lately, oftentimes you hear about school tragedies that perhaps could have been avoided by having a true secure main entrance. So our goal is to create that at the high school. We also heard from the community that we needed an updated weight room / wellness center with expanded public access. And I'll show you some images of our existing weight room, and you'll see that there's great need for to make a true wellness center out of it and to allow the public to use it even more than they are now. We also need to repave all the asphalt around the high school and intermediate school. That's been a need for a long time. That will be part of question 1. And we want to also create that same secure main entrance and add some space at the primary school. Question 2 is related to identifying a use for the middle school building in Casco, and to move the middle school kids to Luxembourg so they're all on one campus. You'll see later on that we have some drawings that show that we would add 7th and 8th grade to the high school building and make it a 7-12 building. The kids will be separate, but they'll be under one roof. And then for the use of the middle school, we want to maintain that building for use as an alternative high school. So we know we have students at the high school who are non-traditional students in that they have a difficult time making it through all of the compliance of a regular high school day. And we think and believe that based on research that putting those students in a separate setting away from the distractions of a traditional high school, having them attend coursework in part of their day and then the rest of their day earning what is called work-based learning credits, kind of on-the-job training. They would get exposure to a variety of different settings in manufacturing and agriculture and so forth until they find an area that is of interest to them, and then we'll try and connect them with a 4-year or a 2-year college to gain additional schooling to be able to earn a living wage after high school. In addition, we have some kids at the high school who perhaps even struggle a bit more and can take advantage of learning some work-based skills, often referred to as soft skills, where they will show up for work on time and do what they're told and be productive, successful employees. We think we can provide that learning for them in an alternative setting in the building in Casco. So to put it plainly, residents of the Luxembourg-Casco community have spoken loudly and clearly for years about the need to upgrade the district's facilities. And so we came together, as I had mentioned earlier, in the spring of 2015, where district leaders asked residents about their long-range priorities. And once again, they voiced those same priorities over and over again, a long-range strategic facilities plan. And so this referendum is a direct reflection of that. So why should we ask residents to make this investment in our schools? Well, clearly our athletic facilities are undersized, inadequate, and outdated. And if you've ever been to a basketball or a volleyball game at the high school, you certainly see that over and over again. Clearly also security is always a priority, and I think I've made the case that those updates are needed. We need to be able to control who comes into and out of the building once school starts. In terms of educational benefits, at the current middle school, kids really don't have much in the way of science labs. The family and consumer science space is very, very outdated. They also don't have access to an auditorium. Currently, middle school children who are gifted and talented have to be transported to the high school to take advanced courses. If we were to relocate the middle school in Luxembourg and make it adjacent to the high school, they can simply walk down the hall and take those advanced courses. As I mentioned earlier, students who are at risk of not graduating would typically be more successful in a setting away from the distractions of a traditional high school, hence the alternative high school setting in Casco. And then from a financial standpoint, maintaining 3 buildings and an alternative high school would be significantly less costly, not only in terms of maintenance, but in terms of transportation, than maintaining 4 full-size buildings. So I'm going to shift gears a bit here and share with you the fact that we believe we like to say we've gotten our academic house in order. So what you're seeing is a graphic of our ranking in CISA 7, which is a group of 38 school districts. Wisconsin is broke up into several regions. We're in Region 7, and so that includes Door County, Kewaunee County, Manitowoc, Brown, Calumet, and all the way down the lakeshore between Lake Winnebago and Lake Michigan to just north of Milwaukee. So as I said, 38 school districts. And in 2012, in English language arts and in mathematics, we were 26th and 24th out of 28 schools. And since then, we've made steady progress towards improving our standing in compared to those other schools. And most recently, on the state high stakes achievement test, we were 4th and 5th in English language arts and mathematics. We're very excited about this, not because we're speeding past our neighbors in the area, but because those numbers represent brighter futures for our kids. And that's frankly why we're here, going back to the mission of the district. So I'm going to shift gears back to the facilities for a bit. What you're looking at are pictures of current machines that are in the metal shop at the high school. You can tell that they're very, very old. We've not been able to identify exactly when they were produced, but they are nowhere near what occurs in machine shops in the area now. Most of the equipment that's used is based on what is called CNC technology, or computerized numerical control. And so our kids are learning for jobs of the future with equipment from the past. Here are a few more examples from our wood shop and our power mechanics area. Not quite as outdated, but still outdated nonetheless. Again, you see no computerized numerical control. We're in a dire need of some upgrades here. Now you're looking at some images of the high school family and consumer science kitchen area. Those are the original cabinets and flooring. We've been able to bring in some stainless steel furniture that's a little bit more indicative of a culinary arts setting and a commercial setting. But this is nowhere near what a modern high school culinary arts or family and consumer science space would look like. Now on to the current weight room at the high school, and it truly is a weight room. I would not call it a fitness center. It's filled with free weights and weight machines. It needs to be expanded, and you'll see that the plan is for us to do that and include a significant amount of the kind of equipment and materials that you would see in a true wellness center. So this is a schematic drawing of the high school representing question 1. The blue areas are brand new construction. The pink areas are existing spaces that are going to be reconfigured. So you see the gymnasium there. It's a 3-station gym. I'll show you a close-up of that in a moment. And the bottom area where there's the blue, just above those bulleted points, is the new secure main office, which is currently classrooms, so that would have to be repurposed. There's a little bit of new construction there as well. Excuse me. The proposed cost for question 1 is not to exceed $15.9 million. So a bit of a close-up, you can see it's a 3-station gymnasium, and the dark lines of the horizontal court would be the competition court for volleyball and basketball games, surrounded on all 4 sides by bleachers. There'll be new restrooms, a concession area, storage, and a receiving area for our custodians. You also see that pink area. That's where the new weight room and wellness facility would be. It's several times larger than our existing space and would have an entrance on the exterior of the building for public access. This is still the high school. It shows a detail of the secure main entrance and new main office. You see that the library is highlighted. That's deserving of a remodel. It's decades old and could stand to be updated. This is a schematic of the primary school. There's very little work to be done here, but there is some needed work. As you may know, we added 4-year-old kindergarten several years ago. Did not add any space at that time, so it's approximately an extra 100 children. So we're proposing 2 more classrooms and a restroom area, and then that's at the top of the page. At the bottom is some new space where we would relocate the main office and create a true secure main entrance there to enhance our security. So this is question 2. It's question, the part that's question 2 is in the lower left-hand portion of the screen. That shows the proposed addition of a middle school just to the left of the library. So there are classrooms there for all subject areas that will meet our needs as a middle school. It's got an expanded main office to accommodate both schools, essentially, as well as an increased cafeteria space for kids and serving area. We want to emphasize that middle school kids will be separated as much as possible from high school kids, with a few exceptions. You know, there's one auditorium and so forth. And so that's question 2 is not to exceed $11.9 million. Here's an up-close view of the middle school. You can see that there are multiple English classrooms, social studies, math, science, foreign language. There are spaces for children with disabilities. There's space for collaborative groups of classes to get together, for children to work in groups. Research supports that powerful learning can take place in collaborative groups, so we want to emphasize that as part of this plan. Should be noted that this is not the final design. This is merely a concept of what we're proposing, so that we can get a sense of square footage and a sense of cost. But if the referendum passes, then the finer points of the design will be done. So it could look fairly different than what you're seeing now, but it would be roughly the same square footage. What you're seeing now is a satellite view of the campus in Luxembourg. It's a little difficult to see, but if you look closely at the high school area, you can see where the new gym would be, as well as the new middle school and lunchroom and wellness center. You can also see some new spaces at the primary school. But what also is of note here is, if you look closely, we want to change the bus route pattern to be a loop that enters and exits onto Marks Lane instead of on and off from County AB. We have some grave concerns about the safety and security of kids being picked up and dropped off by buses and cars, and as well as walking. We want to try to separate the bus traffic from the parent and student traffic as much as possible. We think this is an important upgrade for student safety. But I mentioned earlier about partnerships. We have partnered with Belen Health System to be the provider of our licensed athletic training, as well as some strength and conditioning coaching, all for free. Belen has also agreed to provide some resources in terms of mental health for kids. We are experiencing more and more need to provide mental health services for children. We certainly see more need and more children in need, and Belen is willing to provide that for free. They're also willing to have that person provide professional development for our teachers so that they feel better equipped when those needs arise in the classroom. For citizens, Belen has also agreed to put a nurse part-time in the wellness center so that when citizens come in, particularly senior citizens, and they may experience some aches and pains as they're stretching and exercising and taking advantage of that space, they can have access to that nurse to not only answer questions, but also potentially to connect them with services that Belen provides, either locally here in town or perhaps in Green Bay. In addition to that, Belen is also willing to provide free health risk assessments for any employer who has 50 or fewer employees for free, in exchange for a small donation to help with the maintenance of our wellness facility. That the folks at Belen tell us that health risk assessment is about a $300 value. So you can see Belen wants to be a significant partner. We're very excited about working with them. So finally, I'll wrap this up by showing you some district taxpayer information. This is a graph that shows the mill rate in Luxembourg Casco right now. as shown by the red bar on the left-hand side. The other bars represent other school districts, and the line going near the top, just under $10,000, is the state average mill rate for a school district. So you can see Luxembourg-Casco at $8.08 is well below the state average. If you notice the pink bar, a couple of spaces to the right of the red one, that's what our mill rate would be if both referendum questions pass. And if you look at those costs, the difference is about 77 cents per $1,000 of equalized property value, or $77 for a $100,000 home. Here's another graphic that shows a historical and projected mill rate. So you can see over the last few years, the mill rate in Luxembourg-Casco has dropped a little bit. And even if both questions are passed, which you see in those two columns on the right, our mill rate would go back to being just less than it was a couple of years ago. So from that comparison, the mill rate increase would get us back to where we were just a couple of years ago. And then finally, a graphic that shows the tax impact on a $100,000, a $150,000, and a $200,000 home, not only annually, but per month. And our recent survey has shown that 76% of those residents surveyed would support a property tax increase for education. So to wrap up in summary, the Luxembourg-Casco community has asked for these investments in our schools. These improvements address longstanding needs both in terms of athletics and educational spaces, and as I like to say, we are well on our way to getting our academic house in order, and we believe there's strong need to get our facilities house in order. So please vote April 3rd. Thank you for your attention.